I want to demonstrate to you how to make a bar chart with the standard deviation using an alternative to Excel. So I've got here Google Sheets, this nice free web-based platform. It's a simple spreadsheet. And the good news about it is that you can create a bar chart figure, a nice bar chart figure with standard deviation, and like I say, it's an alternative to Excel. So what I've done here is I have copied and pasted in my site identifications with their calculated basal area and the standard deviation from of those basal areas for our data set from our original data. So this was okay. So we're going to now add a figure, and there's a lot of default ways that Google Sheets works, default dialogues that are going to send you down the wrong path. This is the only way that I know how to do this, is to insert a chart and start with something that looks like this, with a chart that is essentially completely blank. And then what we're going to do is add individual series to the data. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to select the first data point that I want to plot, and that's in cell E3. Hit OK, and that gives me my first mean. That's the mean for the curve of the figure. I am then going to go ahead and add another series, and I'm just going to go E4. Add that one. It's doing some nice things for me. It is already selecting a good color, and I'm just going to continue this at like so. Continuing, it's clunky, or it's kind of, I don't know if it's clunky, but it's just kind of a little. It's kind of boring, but it does work, and I can continue to add the appropriate data like so. So you're gonna, if you wanted to plot basal area for this data set, you're gonna have to go through and do this all 6 times. But let's talk about adding the standard deviation. You're gonna have to add standard deviation one value at a time, and that means that for each one of these series, you're going to have to select that series and then add the standard deviation individually. So I'm going to go to my my series, and this has got some columns that it's going to suggest I use, and I'm going to go to the first one here, and get the first one here, and what I need to do is type in manually the standard deviation. So I've done that here, 11.2, and you can get tricked here by actually selecting standard deviation, but what you're doing is you're telling Google Sheets explicitly what the standard deviation is. It considers this a constant. That's the way to plot it correctly, even though the terminology is not what you're thinking. So you select constant here, and now you've got the appropriate error bars. Now we can just go through with each of these, and I've entered most of them already. Constant, and now everything is starting to look right. And then I go to column 4, and I'll just show you how I go through and enter these manually. Got the constant here. Column 4 is Polycanyon, and the standard deviation is 11.96. I'm going to round up. Every time something's wrong with the decimal key on my keyboard, but anyway, here's the graph. It is a correct plotting of the standard deviation. You cannot, the default, and actually this is locked, you have to have plus and minus. You cannot adjust that. You've also got this problem, and I personally have not been able to overcome this that it's not labeling your figure, the legend correctly, and it's not labeling the x-axis. So what you've got here is an appropriate plotting of the mean and the standard deviation. I've gotten you here. This is, I think, the trickiest part. And if you use Google Sheets, what I recommend you do, of course, you would have to add all the other sites here, but you would have to get this out of Google Sheets, get the image and out of Google Sheets, and then get it into something like PowerPoint or Illustrator or something like that, and add the labels. That means the appropriate y-axis, the x-axis labels, and then even figuring out how to make an appropriate legend. But as clunky as that is, it is an alternative to Excel, and it is available to anybody with an internet.